This episode is brought to you by San Pellegrino. A meal isn't just about what's on your plate. It's about what you bring to the table. San Pellegrino believes the table is where the best of life happens. That's what makes gathering around it so rich and rewarding. And with their unique sparkling natural mineral water, San Pellegrino brings its best so you can bring yours.
Now, it's Positively Ernie Extra, New York's TV legend and 77 WABC radio talk host with positive news and interviews to inform and inspire you. Now, here's Ernie Anastas.
All right. Hi, everybody. And here we are, another great show. I'm very excited to be with you. I love doing this program for a lot of good reasons. It's a personal way to communicate with you one-on-one. We even have a camera in the studio here, which is great. Makes me feel like I'm on television, and I'm certainly comfortable with that idea. But it's nice to be on the radio. There's something about radio that's very intimate. It's just, listening to a person's voice and pausing enough to be able to sort of think and have the other person think and make it natural. I like that. It's like having a nice conversation with someone, and that's what I enjoy doing, and this is what we're all about. Today, I've got a great show. We're going to talk about how to reset your life and become unbreakable. Now, I'm using that word for a reason, because it's the title of a book, #1 Amazon bestseller, written by Karl Romain, and it's all about the secret of developing an indomitable spirit. Don't you like that? I'm very excited about it because it has a lot to do with what I love, and that's truth and purpose, choices, accountability, action, and a lot more. So let's get right to it. I'm holding the book in my hand. Karl Romain, welcome to the show. How are you, my good friend?
Thank you for having me on, Ernie. I'm excited to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. I'm holding the book in front of me, and you just heard me in the introduction. I was talking about, as it says on the cover, the secret to developing an indomitable spirit. That in itself is enough to get me excited. Tell me about that. Why did you choose these words, Karl?
Well, I've been going through a lot in my life. When I was a young person and I started training in martial arts, my goal was to be a world champion by age 22. I actually wrote that in my high school yearbook.
Wow.
And I started training, competing, got ranked in the top 25, and then had a horrific car accident, was told that I'd never be able to go back to my sport.
Wow.
I spent a year in a neck brace, going to tournaments, watching other people win, and finally just made a decision to make a comeback. And to make a long story short, by age 22, I represented the United States team in international competition and made my dream come true.
Wow.
And from that point on, I told people that my passion led me to my purpose, which really did inspire people to live a life of their dreams.
So you have a real personal connection to this, which I think a lot of people are going to appreciate. It's not like, it's okay if you write a book about a subject that you have a lot of interest in, but this is so personal for you. You really overcame something and went on to succeed. So you've got some personal feelings and ideas, and there's a lot in your book, by the way. You're talking about, ways to do it, and it's implementing what you call 6 principles to reset your life. I want to go through that, okay? What is really important? One of the first ones you have listed here is truth. Talk about that, Karl.
The big question about truth is, are you really living your authentic life? As a coach, I get people who talk to me sometimes, and they're older, and they made choices and decisions based on what other people wanted for them.
Oh, yeah,
and
sure.
And they find that, suddenly I'm 40, I'm 50 years old, I've got all this responsibility. I don't want to blow up my life, but I'm unhappy. I'm not living the life I feel I should have lived.
So you got to be truthful with yourself, right? Look in that mirror and say, who am I? What do I really want? That's what you're saying, right?
What do you really want? And is your vision for your life really aligned with the way you're currently living?
Boy, that's heavy stuff. And that means that when someone is hearing that or reading it and thinking about doing it, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of courage to do that, doesn't it?
Extremely. A lot of courage. You need to gather support from the right people. You need to have a plan in place of how you're going to do it. You need to know what the obstacles are and how you'll overcome those obstacles in advance. And I highly recommend working with a coach, a third party, somebody who's kind of outside of the picture versus somebody who's like a part of your daily life. But having the support of the people who are part of your daily life is critically important.
You know, Karl, I think that's a very good point, because there is so much we can do on our own, and we need that inner strength. But I'm a firm believer, like you just said, of having other people, being surrounded by at least one, maybe two people that really support you and give you that little extra push, and they can hear what you're really talking about and what you mean.
Every major accomplishment I've had in my life was because I had a mentor. You know, I was working on this book for almost 10 years. Yeah. And when my best friend passes away, and it inspired me to continue to work on it because my mentor said, hey, this is part of your healing process. And so in the book, there's a whole chapter dedicated to her and talk about her life and our relationship. And, you know, it just, with the right person in your corner, you can accomplish anything.
I agree. And I think that having a mentor in life is important. I've had a couple of great people. I've been very fortunate. And, you know, when you surround yourself with someone who can inspire you, someone who allows you to think out loud and helps you to be accountable for what you want in your life. I'm a big fan of mentors. You also talk about in your book about purpose. Now, that's one of my favorite subjects. So I want to hear what your definition of purpose is. How do we find that? How do we make purpose work in our life?
What I have found is that life purpose in particular is when you've overcome a challenge and you have answers and can help other people do the same. It's really about how we can contribute to the greater good of the world and the greater good of society. And that's how I look at purpose, right? And the other thing I look at when I talk about purpose is not just your avocation, it's how you live every day.
Right.
So for me, my goal is to inspire people to live a life of their dreams or to be their best self or to see possibilities. So I can do that as a parent. I can do that as a martial arts instructor, a life coach. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. I can always live that purpose. And so even if you were in a career that maybe wasn't something you absolutely wanted to do, you could still find a way to live your purpose. Yeah.
Karl, I'm going to share a story with you and with our listeners. I've done so many interviews on television over the years, and I remember interviewing someone who was, I believe, a social scientist, perhaps out of Harvard, doesn't matter, but this person was really brilliant. And I remember this distinctly, and I asked her about life. I said, you know, how do we think about life? What is it that we have to understand and can help us to define ourselves? And I remember she said to me, you know, people think that there are three things in life that if they accomplish, they'll be very happy and satisfied. I said, okay, number one. She said, people want more. They want more of whatever it happens to be. They want more money. They want more power, more fame, whatever it is. They just want more of it. And so they accomplish that. They get more. And they're still not happy. They're not satisfied. So then they go on to the second thing. Oh, I have more. Now I'm going to make it better. I'm going to have a better house, a better car, a better wife, better husband, whatever it happens to. I'm going to make it all better. So they work at making it better. And they're still not satisfied. They go on to the third thing. Different. Now I'm going to set myself apart from everybody else. I'm going to be different. I'm going to have custom made. I'm going to be so unique that no one will be like me. So I'm going to be different. And she said, that's still not enough. I said, really? Yeah. She said, they go through more, better, and different. But she said, there's one thing that changes everything. And I said, okay, what's that? And she said, purpose. Purpose, just like you said. If you have a purpose in your life, and it doesn't have to be some lofty thing. You don't necessarily have to be a big CEO of a company. Whatever it is that makes you feel that you have a sense of purpose in your life, that is really important, and it's the essence of what keeps you happy.
That's right.
That's really important, isn't it?
And yeah, absolutely. It's very important. And something that you keep saying, repeating, is thoughts. And thoughts is a part of, what I'm talking about in the book as well. Are your thoughts really serving you? Every day we have between 2,500 to 3,000 thoughts per hour. That's something like 60 to 80,000 thoughts per day, right?
Wow. How do we handle all of that? I don't know.
Right. And thoughts impact how we feel, and how we feel impacts how we behave.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. There's a famous saying, watch your thoughts. It becomes your your actions, right? Watch your thoughts to become your words. Watch your words to become your actions. Watch your actions to become your character. Watch your character becomes your destiny.
Nice.
Right? And so thoughts really have a powerful impact on our life, more than we realize.
This episode is brought to you by Tic Tac. Summer tastes like Tic Tac. Tantalize your taste buds this sunny season with citrus adventure and orange. 2 everyday flavors that bring summer in every. Tic Tac Citrus Adventure is a yummy, vibrant medley of lemon, lime, and mandarin. And Tic Tac Orange is the perfect mix of tangy and sweet. Visit us at Tic Tac USA on social to refresh your summer with Tic Tac.
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? They bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team, so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. They're passionate about your industry, so you can walk into any room with every advantage. And they're with you every step of the way, so you can know you're headed in the right direction. PwC builds for what's next, so you can get there now. Get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge.
They do. And in your book, Karl, you talk about some other things, too, that are part of the 6 principles. And I had them written down. We talked about choice. Let's talk about choice and action. They go hand in hand. You make a decision, okay, and decisions determine destiny, as we say, right? So talk about choices and the actions that we need to take to make things happen.
Choices are really important. And the reason I kind of laid out the book this way was because the first part of it, truth, thoughts, purpose, are the inner victory we need to have to know what choices are really in alignment with what we want.
Sure.
How do you make a choice if you don't know what your purpose is? How do you, make an accurate choice if your thoughts aren't in alignment with the things that you want in your life?
Yes.
And if you don't know your truth, how do you make the right choices? All right. Every choice you make will take you in a different direction.
Right.
I'm also a firm believer that, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And sometimes you have to take that step and you don't know where it's going to lead you. And that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to know the whole thing right off the bat. But knowing that you can always make a different choice is also important as well.
Flexibility, right?
Absolutely.
Being able to adjust to situations. I think that's a very healthy thing to do. I mean, sometimes we're very firm on certain values in our life, and I think that's good. But you have to have some flexibility to say, okay, that's changed. I'm redefining something. I've learned something new, and I'm going to react to it. Let me talk about this, too, because I think that this is crucial, and it's part of what you're talking about in your book. And that is we have to be able to identify and to overcome, and here's the word, self-limiting beliefs. Because a lot of people get stuck on that, okay? They just are limiting themselves. How do we get over that, Karl? Go ahead.
Well, it starts every single day, just really taking accounting for yourself. And I'm going to give you 3 simple questions, or 4 simple questions you can ask yourself, right?
Yep.
The first question is what I'm thinking based on fact? Sometimes we're thinking something and there's no facts to actually support what we're thinking.
Why do we do that?
It's just something we sometimes do naturally. Sometimes we have a false perspective of things, the way we grew up, the way we see things, and we don't realize that we're actually even doing it.
Okay.
We call that a thinking trap.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
The second question is what I'm thinking making me feel the way I want to feel? Because remember I said, our thoughts impact our feelings and our behavior.
Right.
So is what I'm thinking making me feel the way that I want to feel? You first have to know how you want to feel.
That's right.
Right?
That's right, yes.
If it's making you feel bad, then it's probably not a good thought.
Not a good thing, right. You have to change that.
And then the last question I want you to think about is what I'm thinking helping me to reach my goal?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Is it taking me the other way, or is it moving me forward? Is this thought really serving me?
So when we're doing this, okay, this is a very good practice, Karl. When we're doing this, this is where I think we need someone else to help us, to bounce things off. Because if we're alone and we're having these thoughts, we need some new food inside our brain, inside our mind, to be able to say, hey, wait. Think about this. Think about that. So it can help us to change. So you agree with that, that we need people to be able to bounce these things off, whether it's a mentor or whoever?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody needs an accountability partner, somebody
Sure.
they feel comfortable, that they can speak openly with, that they can be vulnerable with, and get different perspectives. And not you can't really do that with everyone. So you have to find somebody that you're truly comfortable with. But I believe when you find the right person, they will move your life forward.
I like
They'll
that.
help you to move your life forward.
Karl, I am holding the book up right now. In fact, I'm putting it up in front of the camera. And there's a big word right on that title, and it says Unbreakable. That's a strong word when you say unbreakable. Let's talk about that, because there are people who say, okay, I'm listening to you, and here's the reality of my life. I have what I think are insurmountable challenges. They're just very difficult for me. I have tried repeatedly, and I fail. I just can't make headway. So where is the roadmap? How do I get out of this feeling so that I can be, as you call in your book, unbreakable?
Well, first of all, we all have the answers within us. The truth is we all really know the desires and our hopes and our dreams and the things that we want. We're always going to be confronted with obstacles or things that seem insurmountable. You know, I'm a single full-time dad. I had these obstacles when, I was trying to win the world championships. I've had some really good friends pass away, things that are just devastating and could change your life, right?
Sure.
When it comes to being unbreakable, it's about resiliency and about flexibility. Right? Sometimes we think in such a black and white way. We need sometimes to look at the gray areas of our life.
Yes.
And in those gray areas, we can make a different choice. Right? It doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
As a matter of fact, there's no such thing as perfect. I tell everybody, you should strive for excellence. And the word excellence has the word excel in it. Just go beyond wherever you are today. Just take one step forward. That's an accomplishment.
Sure.
Right? You might not be able to see the whole thing, but, one step forward is one step better, right?
I like that. You know what you're talking about, Karl. I love quotations, and there's one that I use often. Don't strive for success. Strive for significance.
Nice.
There's a big difference there. I mean, success can be okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Hopefully, you treat it properly and you don't abuse it, and you recognize that it is a gift. But also understanding that beyond success is this thing called significance. Who are you? What do you represent? And we go back to the word purpose. What is your purpose in life? Are you doing something that really has significant value, and you're passing something on and trying to make the world, I know this sounds like a beat-up expression, but trying to make the world a better place, Karl.
That's right.
Right?
And when you're the best version of yourself, that's what you do. You become a happy, contributing member of society. Right?
Yeah. Let me ask you this too, because I try to ask a lot of questions, having done this over the years, that people would like to ask. People who are listening to us and saying, hey, Ernie, ask that question. Okay, we talked about insurmountable situations. Now let me ask you about this. Crossroads. Okay, in life, there are times when we come to, not just once or twice, or maybe often, crossroads, trying to make the right choice and the right decision when we feel that maybe we could go either way with this. It's not like a clear-cut decision. It's not like, no, I know what to do. This is wrong and this is right. But you're at a crossroad and you're saying, okay, now how do I really feel this thing out and make the right choice? Talk about that.
Yeah. There's so many times in life we're going to be at a crossroad. And there's some choices that we have to ask ourselves, are we making them because they're most convenient and they have the least amount of challenge? Or are we making the choice that's truly in alignment with who and where we want to be in our life?
Sure.
And that means sometimes we have to face the dragon and, overcome some of those challenges that we're facing. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult. And the minute you can accept that,
right,
it changes everything.
Yes. Yes.
Right? In the martial arts, we talk about that a lot. When is somebody most dangerous? When they surrender. Because they have nothing to lose at that point, right? They're just going to go for it. They're going to really give it 110%. And sometimes we need to surrender to the fact that things are going to be difficult.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it impossible.
That's a good point. Karl, as a parent, I can tell you that one of the best things that we can give our children is a good sense of self-esteem, giving them confidence. and making them feel good about themselves. Because I feel that if you give them that, it's like armor, and it can protect them against a lot of things that will happen in life. It's inevitable. We're going to have difficulties and challenges and problems. But if you have a sense of self-esteem, that you feel good about yourself and you have that confidence, I think that's an amazing weapon, and it can help you survive whatever it happens to be. I think you agree with that, don't you?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And one of the things I'm really fond of telling my son is, one, you never fail until you stop trying. And number two is make as many mistakes as you possibly can. Because you only learn through making mistakes, and so many times I have experiences working with adults and they're afraid to make mistakes because they were told that making a mistake is wrong. No, making a mistake allows you to learn.
Exactly.
Allows you to grow, allows you to improve. So make mistakes and then move forward from there. Make a better choice next time.
This episode is brought to you by Buick. Buick certified service technicians are factory trained to fit your vehicle with the tires specifically developed for it. And with our tire price match guarantee, you get the best fit for the best deal. Buick, exceptional by design. Available on select eligible tire brands at participating dealers only. Offer ends 12/31/2025. Terms apply. See dealer for complete details. Visit Buick.com/service to learn more.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Listen, that's why there's an eraser and a pencil, right? They still make pencils. But
even ink isn't permanent, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's erasable ink.
I mean, it's a good visual. It's like, okay, you're going to make a mistake, but you know what? Look at it as a learning experience. Don't think of it as a failure, and that's part of the problem, And when we're very young, even in school, I love teachers. I love them, and they all work so hard at what they do, and there are some that are just outstanding. But I think that there's a responsibility at home and in the schools and wherever someone is going to learn to be able to help our young people learn that you're going to grow from this. And it's okay. It's okay if you do it this way because maybe it's your unique style. Many times when a child is in school and they're drawing something and the teacher might say, well, you know what, try to make it, inside those little circles. I understand what they're doing and that's helpful to a certain extent, but it's nice to allow that child to go a little outside that circle and maybe discover something else about themselves or about, an art or life. I think that's very healthy, very healthy.
Again, in my martial arts school, I share this with my instructors. I say, we don't teach martial arts. We teach people. And we have to remember that. And each person is unique. And what works for one may not work for another.
Yes.
And so we have to find ways to help them to succeed in life.
I was interviewing.
Have to remember that.
Yes, sir. I was interviewing Tony Danza not too long ago. What an amazing guy he is. Brooklyn-born, terrific actor, great personality. 10 years ago, he started a terrific program, and it's Stars of Tomorrow. And he helps a lot of young people to learn, the art of performing. And his line, he says, when you teach a kid to act, they learn how to act. And I said, this is great because it's more than just the art of teaching someone how to perform. It's learning how to live their life and how to act in life and how to be themselves. I love that stuff. This is all good. One thing, that I will leave you with, and that is I believe in complimenting yourself every day. That may sound to some people being narcissistic, but you know what? Compliment yourself. Pat yourself on the back. Because, positivity can really change your outlook. And we should be proud of ourselves. Because many times we put ourselves down. And I love working with young people. I've written 2 books for teenagers and young children. And I think that that's so important to be able to be proud of yourself, to be happy with yourself, and to recognize the good qualities that you have and to improve on that and realize that you've been given gifts and you have to use them. You have to use your gifts. Absolutely. And it's the recognition of what's good in us, right? Really
thinking about that. The word pride, people can say, oh, you're being arrogant or this. No, it's the recognition of the good. It's the pleat in my pants. It's how I stand. It's how I carry myself. It's how I interact with others. And asking yourself, at the end of the day, hey, what did I do right today?
Yeah.
What went well?
There you go.
Your whole perspective, and having a sense of gratitude, too, for the opportunities that came your way,
I love it. You're a #1 Amazon bestseller for a good reason, Karl, because we listened to you today. And, I mean, if anybody has been listening to the program, they're going to go out and get this book immediately. It's called Unbreakable, 6 Principles to Reset Your Life and Become Unbreakable. And Karl Romain, a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for sharing and trying to make things better for everybody in life, including ourselves.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, okay?
Thank you.
Come back sometime. We'd love to have you on again.
Yes.
And we certainly hope that people have learned something from our program today. I'm going to see you next time, and this is Positively Extra. It's our podcast. I hope you're listening to it. You can catch me every day, of course, on 77 WABC Radio with more positive news you can use. So we're wishing you all good things, and like the song goes in the background, remember, you were born to be alive. Have a good one.